Welcome back to Be Inspired from Life. There's a question that almost every human being has asked at some point in their life. A question that can shake even the strongest believer, make even the most faithful heart tremble, and make even the most hopeful person wonder if God really cares. That question is, why does God let evil exist? Why does God allow pain, suffering, heartbreak, and loss? Why do innocent people die while those who cause pain seem to walk free? Why does a mother have to bury her child? Why does a kind man lose everything while a corrupt one grows richer? Why do bad things happen to good people? If you've ever asked those questions, you're not weak, you're human. Because somewhere deep inside all of us, there's a part that longs for justice, a part that screams, this world is not fair. But my friend, the truth is, this world was never meant to be heaven. This world is a battleground between good and evil, between faith and fear, between light and darkness. When God created man, he gave us something powerful, something angels themselves marvel at, the gift of free will. That means God didn't make you a puppet. He gave you the freedom to choose, the freedom to love or to hate, to forgive or to take revenge, to build or to destroy. And with that freedom came consequence. Because true love can only exist when there is a choice not to love. Evil exists not because God made it, but because he allowed humans to have the power to choose. You can choose to heal, and you can choose to harm. You can choose to serve God or reject him. And every day, humanity proves that freedom is both a blessing and a curse. Think about it. If God stopped all evil, he would have to stop every wrong thought before it became an action. He would have to take away your ability to decide. He would have to stop you from saying what you want, doing what you want, even feeling what you want. And then we'd no longer be human, we'd be robots, programmed to do good, but without understanding why. That's not love, that's control. And God doesn't want slaves. He wants sons and daughters who choose him, even when the world gives them 1,000 reasons not to. Sometimes evil exists because God wants to show you what good truly looks like. You can't understand light without seeing darkness. You can't appreciate joy without ever feeling pain. You can't recognize peace until you've walked through chaos. Look at a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it must be buried underground, in the dark, surrounded by dirt. But in that darkness, it begins to grow. And just like that seed, sometimes God allows you to sit in the darkness not because he's punishing you, but because he's preparing you. When evil touches your life, it's easy to think God has abandoned you. But the truth is, that's often the moment he's closest. Because God does his best work in the dark. He turns pain into purpose, suffering into strength, and tears into testimony. Take Job, for example. The man lost everything, his wealth, his children, his health. People looked at him and said, "Where is your God now?" Even his own wife told him to curse God and die. But Job said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." Job didn't understand why God allowed it, but he trusted that there was a reason. And in the end, God restored everything to him twice over. Job's pain became his greatest lesson, his story became his greatest weapon, and his endurance became his crown. Evil exists so faith can be proven real. Anybody can love God when life is easy. Anybody can smile when everything's going their way. But when the storm hits, when the betrayal cuts deep, when the diagnosis shatters your peace, that's when your faith is tested. That's when heaven leans down to see what you're made of. If God stopped all evil, he'd also stop your growth. Because every painful experience has shaped you into who you are today. The betrayal taught you who to trust. The heartbreak taught you how to value yourself. The loss taught you gratitude. The suffering taught you empathy. Evil tries to destroy you, but God uses it to define you. When Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery, he spent years in prison for something he didn't do. If anyone had a reason to hate God, it was Joseph. But when God raised him up and made him ruler of Egypt, Joseph looked at the same brothers who hurt him and said, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." That's what God does. He takes the very thing that was meant to destroy you and turns it into the thing that develops you. You see, evil thinks it's winning, but what it doesn't know is that it's always working in reverse. The enemy thought the cross was a victory, but it became his defeat. When Jesus was crucified, evil laughed. But 3 days later, the stone rolled away. God turned the darkest moment in history into the brightest light of eternity. That's what he does. He turns evil into evidence of his power. So the question isn't, why does God let evil exist? The question is, what is God trying to show me through it? Because sometimes God uses what breaks you to build you. Sometimes he uses pain to wake up your purpose. Sometimes he allows a loss to save your soul. Evil reveals the truth about humanity, but it also reveals the glory of God. When people betray you and you still choose to forgive, that's divine. When life breaks you and you still keep walking, that's faith. When the world turns cold and you still choose kindness, that's heaven shining through you. Every act of evil is an opportunity for someone to show love. Every injustice is a call for someone to show courage. Every loss is a space where hope can be reborn. God doesn't waste pain. He never wastes suffering. What feels meaningless now will one day make perfect sense. Remember this: evil may win a few battles, but it will never win the war, because the war has already been won. When Jesus rose from the grave, he declared that death, sin, and evil have no final say. That means no matter what happens in this world, goodness will always have the last word. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The key is to not give up in the night, because your morning is coming. Evil wants to convince you that there's no point in being good, no point in praying, no point in believing. But the truth is, that's when your faith matters most. When evil rises, faith must rise higher. When hate spreads, love must grow stronger. When the world turns dark, your light must shine brighter. You can't control what happens in the world, but you can control what happens in your heart. Sometimes God lets evil exist because he's giving humanity time to choose. He's giving sinners time to repent. He's giving the lost time to find their way home. Because one day, evil will be judged. Every injustice will be corrected. Every tear will be wiped away. But until that day, we live by faith, not by sight. When you see wars, corruption, betrayal, greed, remember this: God is not blind, he's patient, because he's still writing the story. He's still giving people a chance to turn around. Evil may seem powerful, but it's temporary. Its time is limited. Its rule is borrowed. There's coming a day when there will be no more pain, no more tears, no more death, no more evil. But until then, God allows it to exist so that your faith can grow. He allows it so that light can shine even brighter in contrast. He allows it so that you can be refined like gold through fire. When gold is heated, the impurities rise to the top. The goldsmith then scrapes them away until he can see his reflection in it. That's what God does with you. He allows the fire not to destroy you, but to reveal himself in you. Every time you choose good in the reprehension, face of evil, you reflect God. Every time you forgive instead of retaliating, you reflect God. Every time you choose faith instead of fear, you reflect God. And that's the purpose of life, to reflect him. Evil's existence is not a sign of God's weakness. It's a sign of his wisdom, because he's powerful enough to let it exist and still bring good out of it. Only God can take something so dark and turn it into something that saves. Think about all the heroes you've ever admired. They didn't become strong because life was easy. They became strong because they faced evil and didn't let it win. They found courage when fear surrounded them. They found hope when the world offered none. That's what makes a hero, not the absence of evil, but the refusal to surrender to it. So don't ask why there's evil. Ask how you can be the good that conquers it. Because the world doesn't need more people complaining about darkness. It needs more people who are willing to light a candle. You can't control all the evil out there, but you can control the kindness in here, in your heart. Sometimes the evil you see around you is just a mirror showing you what needs to change within you. It's God reminding you that the fight against darkness begins inside your own soul. Because if you can overcome the evil within pride, greed, envy, bitterness, you can overcome the evil outside. God allows evil to show the world what real strength looks like. Strength is not power over others. Strength is power over yourself. The strength to stay kind in a cruel world. The strength to keep believing when everything falls apart. The strength to love when hate surrounds you. Evil is loud, but it's not lasting. It's strong, but it's not eternal. It's painful, but it's not permanent. Every time you think evil is winning, remember the cross. It looked like the end, but it was the beginning. It looked like defeat, but it was victory. That's how God works. He writes his greatest stories out of what looks like failure. The world will never make sense if you judge it by one chapter. You have to wait until the story is complete, because what you're calling evil today might be the very thing God is using to lead you to purpose. One day you'll look back and say, I see it now. God was working even when I didn't understand. There's an old saying that light shines brightest in the darkest place. So maybe the reason the world is so dark right now is because it's your turn to shine. Don't let the evil you see discourage you. Let it motivate you. Let it push you to be different, to love harder, to forgive faster, to believe stronger. Evil exists to test your faith, to show you what's inside you, to bring out the warrior that God placed within you. When you face evil and you still choose good, you win twice, once against the world and once against yourself. You may not understand why. God allows it, but you can trust that He has a reason. Because everything He allows, He uses. Every tear, every heartbreak, every loss, none of it is wasted. It's all leading you somewhere. It's all part of a bigger plan. So the next time you see evil and feel like losing hope, remember this: God is still in control. Evil is temporary, love is eternal, pain is seasonal, purpose is forever. One day, evil will answer for every injustice, every act of cruelty, every lie, every broken soul. Until then, keep walking in faith. Keep trusting God. Keep doing what's right even when it's hard. Because good doesn't need to be loud to win, it just needs to keep going. If you're listening to this right now and you're hurting because of something evil that's happened to you, know this: God saw it. He didn't ignore it. He's not done with your story. What the enemy meant for evil, God is about to turn into a testimony that will help others heal. Because in the end, when all is said and done, evil will bow and good will stand. And God's people, those who stayed faithful through the fire, will finally understand why it all had to happen the way it did. So never lose hope. Never stop believing. Never stop fighting for what's right. Because no matter how strong evil seems, God is stronger. Always has been, always will be. And that, my friend, is why God lets evil exist, not to destroy you, but to display His glory through you. Thank you so much for watching. If this video inspired you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Be Inspired from Life for more motivational content. And remember, no matter where you are in life, you have the power to change your future. See you in the next video.